The studio was silent, except for the hum of the air conditioning. Merle Morley sat alone in a small, rented recording booth in the basement of an old building in the city. The walls were thin, the equipment was secondhand, but the song was perfect. She had written it 3 weeks ago. It came to her at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday when she couldn't sleep. The melody was simple, but haunting. The lyrics were about waiting, waiting for someone to see you, to really see you, not as a shadow, but as a person, not as a voice in the background, but as the main character in your own story. Merle sang it once, then again. On the third take, she stopped. This was it. This was the one. She recorded it that night, alone. No producer, no manager, no one listening. The song took her 47 minutes to record. She didn't do 100 takes. She didn't overthink it. Merle Morley was 23 years old and completely unknown. She had 3,000 followers on Instagram. None of them were music industry people. Most were people she went to high school with or her mother's friends. She uploaded it to a private SoundCloud link. She didn't share it anywhere. She just kept it. Like a secret, two people listened to it, her best friend Sarah and her mother. Sarah said it was beautiful. Her mother cried. That was enough for Merle back then. That was everything. 6 months later, Merle was working at a coffee shop. She was still writing songs, still recording in that basement studio, still uploading them to SoundCloud where nobody found them. Then one morning, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Hi, Merle. This is Marcus Chen from Streaming Analytics. Your song, Waiting for the Light, was recently flagged in our system. It's being used without proper copyright attribution. Can we talk? Merle's heart stopped. She had no manager. She had no lawyer. She had no idea what was happening. She called Marcus. He told her something that made her hands shake. Your song is all over TikTok. It's at 8 million views, but it's credited to someone else. Merle couldn't speak. Marcus sent her a link. The song was there, but the artist's name wasn't Merle Morley. It was Avery Kane. Avery Kane was a 25-year-old singer from Los Angeles with 2.3 million followers. She had a record deal, she had a team, she had everything Merle didn't have, and she had Merle's song. Merle watched the video. Avery Kane was sitting on a beach at sunset, looking vulnerable, singing the exact melody Merle had written, the exact lyrics, the exact emotion. But Avery's name was in the credits. Avery's face was on the thumbnail. Avery was getting the comments. This song saved my life. I'm crying. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Avery Kane is a genius. One comment made Merle nauseous. This should be on the radio. This is Grammy material. The song had 8.2 million views now. It was climbing. TikTok's algorithm had picked it up. It was everywhere. And nobody knew. It was Merle's. She checked Avery Kane's Instagram. There was a post from 3 weeks ago. Sometimes inspiration comes from unexpected places. Grateful for this song. Working with the best team to bring it to the world. No credit to Merle. No mention of where it came from. Just gratitude for inspiration. Merle sat in her apartment for 2 hours without moving. Then she did what most people in her situation would do. Nothing. Because what could she do? She had no proof. She had a private SoundCloud link. She had the original file on her laptop with a timestamp. But Avery Kane had a record label, a legal team, millions of dollars, and millions of followers. Merle had a coffee shop job and a dream that was beginning to feel like a joke. 3 weeks passed. Avery Kane's version of Waiting for the Light hit 25 million views. It was number 3 on TikTok's trending sounds. It got picked up by Spotify's editorial playlist. Magazines started writing about the haunting new sound from Avery Kane. Rolling Stone did an interview. Where did the inspiration for Waiting for the Light come from? For the light come from, Avery smiled. I was in a dark place. I wrote this song in one sitting. It just poured out of me. It's so personal, she lied. Not even a white lie, a complete calculated lie, and the world believed her. Merle watched the interview 3 times. She felt something she had never felt before. Not anger, not sadness, something colder. something that made her hands steady instead of shaky. She opened her laptop. She downloaded her original file. She checked the metadata. The timestamp was clear, recorded 6 months before Avery Cain's version. The file information showed everything: the exact date, the exact time, the exact length of the song. She created a new email account. She gathered everything: the original SoundCloud link with the upload date visible, the original MP3 file with metadata, screenshots of Avery's post claiming it was her own, the interview where Avery lied about writing it. Then she did something smart. She didn't post it publicly. She didn't start a Twitter war. She didn't do what most people would do: cry, yell, demand justice on social media where it would get lost in 24 hours. Instead, Myrlie found the email addresses of 3 music journalists who had written about Avery Cain. She found the contact information for Avery's record label's legal team. She found the metadata experts who could verify authenticity, and she sent them everything all at once. With a simple message: I wrote this song. I recorded it 6 months before Avery Cain's version. The timestamps are in the metadata. The original SoundCloud link is dated. I'm not asking for credit on social media. I'm asking for what's mine. She hit send at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday. Then she went to bed. By Friday morning, everything had changed. The first article came from Pitchfork: singer Avery Cain accused of plagiarism. Evidence suggests song Waiting for the Light was written by unknown artist Myrlie Morley. By Friday afternoon, the story was everywhere. Billboard, Avery Cain's hit song, allegedly stolen from independent artist The Verge, how one woman's song went viral. Under another artist's name, Twitter was divided. Some defended Avery. Some said Myrlie was lying for attention. Some said this was proof of how broken the industry was. But the metadata didn't lie. The timestamps didn't lie. The original file didn't lie. By Saturday, Avery Cain's record label released a statement. We are investigating these claims. We take intellectual property seriously. By Sunday, Avery Cain herself posted an apology, but it was careful, lawyered, designed to minimize damage. I want to address the recent claims. I didn't set it intentionally plagiarize. If this song sounds similar to another artist's work, it's coincidence. I have respect for all artists. I'm looking into this with my team. It wasn't an admission. It was a deflection. But it didn't matter. The damage was done. The algorithm that had pushed Avery's version was now pushing the truth. The same TikTok algorithm, the same Instagram algorithm, the same YouTube algorithm that had buried Myrlie's original now pushed her story to the surface. Within 48 hours, Myrlie Morley had 1.2 million followers. The original SoundCloud link got 3.4 million plays. And her email inbox was flooded with messages from artists, producers, and lawyers offering help. 3 months later, Myrlie Morley released Waiting for the Light officially on all platforms, with proper credits, with her name in every possible place. It went platinum in 2 countries. Avery Cain's version was quietly removed from most playlists. The record label settled out of court for an undisclosed amount that Myrlie's new lawyer said was substantial. And Myrlie did something she never thought she'd do. She signed with a real record label. Not the biggest one, but one that respected artists. One that had approached her not because of the scandal, but because they genuinely believed in her music. But here's what people didn't talk about as much. The 3 weeks between when Myrlie discovered the theft and when she sent those emails. The moment she sat alone in her apartment, knowing she was invisible while someone else wore her song like a borrowed dress. The choice she made: not to scream, not to cry publicly, not to do what the algorithm wanted her to do, which was to perform her pain for engagement. Instead, she had done something quieter, something more devastating. She had gathered evidence. She had been strategic. She had been patient. She had let the truth do the work. Nobody saw her panic. Nobody heard her cry. Nobody witnessed the moment she realized the world doesn't care about fairness. It only cares about proof. And when she provided the proof, she didn't explain herself. She didn't defend herself. She didn't perform sadness or anger or victimhood. She just sent the files. And the silence that followed, the silence before the article started, before the algorithm shifted, before the world changed its mind, that silence was hers. That moment belonged entirely to Merle Morley, not to Avery Kane, not to the record label, not to the internet, just to her. Epilogue. 6 months later, Merle Morley was interviewed by a major music magazine. The interviewer asked, "When you found out Avery Kane had stolen your song, what was the first thing you felt?" Merle paused. She thought about that morning, about the shock, about the 3 weeks of silence. "I felt invisible," she said quietly. "But I realized something. Invisibility is a choice, and so is what you do with it. I chose to stay invisible long enough to gather everything I needed. By the time I made myself visible, I had the proof. I had the power, and that made all the difference." The interviewer asked, "Do you regret how it happened?" Merle smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who understood something fundamental about how the world works. "No," she said, "because if I had screamed about it online the first day, it would have been just another story, just another artist crying, just another person asking for help. But instead, I was quiet. I gathered evidence, I let the facts speak, and when I finally moved, there was nothing anyone could say. The metadata doesn't lie, the timestamps don't lie. The truth doesn't need your permission to be true." She leaned back in her chair. "Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is not fight. It's wait. It's prepare. It's let them think you're gone while you're building something they can't argue with." The silence that followed in that interview room lasted exactly 8 seconds. The interviewer didn't ask another question. They didn't need to. Everything had already been said.